Hey, ladies, I hope you're doing well. I'm Dr. Monica Du, and on this channel, I share all about whole food plant-based lifestyle, health, nutrition, homeschooling, gardening, and more. Today, I want to go ahead and share with you some information about wholesome children's picture books. What do I use as a guideline for myself to make sure that I am incorporating rich, lovely, informative, and good books that my children can enjoy? Come on with me today as I show you those guidelines and show you some options that have been some of my favorites. So let's talk about guidelines. It's so important for us if we have an organization, framework, or practical tool that we can use and depend upon in order to help us to find what is best to use for our children, especially so in our homeschool. We're responsible for providing the best that we can for our children that will help them to grow into the individuals that we would love for them to be, the individuals that the Father has chosen for them to be. I have made 5 specific guidelines that I use myself in my family that help me in choosing children's books, and any other literature materials that we bring in our home. I'm going to go ahead and show you them now. Let me share my screen. The first one is the books that we choose should be reflective of the character and truths of the Father, Yahweh. He wants for us to homeschool our children, and He wants for us to bring in things in our home that are pleasing to Him, reflective of His truths, morals, character, reflective of the things that He tells us are good and pleasing to Him. This is reflective all throughout our life, all throughout our walk, and it's all the same in terms of choosing the books that we bring in. Even if a book is popular, many people are reading it. You see many other homeschool moms buying these sets and series of books. It doesn't mean that it's a good or appropriate, especially if you haven't screened it. You're not potentially aware of what may be written in there and what message it may be giving to children. Words are so very powerful, and we have to remember that. The spoken word and the written word have the potential to change one's life. So, whenever we're choosing a book, literature materials, even audio materials, things that we are hearing, bringing into our minds, we should make sure it is at least reflective of the truths of the Father. Number 2, the books should align as much as possible with the biblical timeline of world history. It is important to have this foundation, as most of the material out there will focus upon a non-biblical or secular approach to the world in terms of how it was created, in terms of apportioning the coming up of humans and animals and all the creatures, apportioning it to something out of nothing. But if you are someone that believes in the Bible and you're following Yahweh, you know that things didn't just come out of nothing. They were specifically created as we see in the book of Genesis. It tells us everything. So we have no question, and we are so firm in this foundation, and we have no question when we hear about other potential reasonings and other ideas about how the world just came to be. Things just started moving together, and then all of a sudden, all the intricacies, the human body, the waters, the earth, the geography, the creatures, all life forms just happen to form in just the particular ways that they could literally be functioning for all these years. If you have a biblical viewpoint, you know that just doesn't add up. All things were made from the beginning, as we can see in the book of Genesis from our Creator. So if you can incorporate this viewpoint in the books that you choose, you really set your children up for a firm foundation in biblical truths. Number 3, the books should avoid discussion and attention to dark or worldly matters, such as, for example, occult, witches, ghosts, goblins, monsters, material possessions, or inappropriate details. There's a verse in Philippians 4:8. I'm going to read just above it so we have a little context, and then I'll get down to that verse. It says here, "Let your gentleness be known to all men. The master is near. Do not worry at all, but in every matter, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to Elohim. And the peace of Elohim, which surpasses all understanding, shall guard your hearts and minds through Messiah Yeshua." Now, number 8. For the rest, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is righteous, whatever is clean, whatever is lovely, whatever is of good report, if there is any uprightness, and if there is any praise, think on these. We have been guided and directed to focus our energies, our thoughts, focus on the things that we bring in front of our eyes and minds, the things that we bring in into our hearts. It should be pure, lovely, clean, righteous. It should be pointing to the attributes of the Father. But when we bring in these books, and there's so many out there, these series many times where they're talking about magic, dark things, they're talking about worldly matters, they're talking about specific and heavy details that may have happened to someone. These are not the things that we want to focus on, and it's definitely not healthy for a young mind. It doesn't matter if it's popular or if it's on the New York Times best-selling list. It doesn't matter if it's on another mom's bookshelf. It doesn't matter if it's on another popular channel that you watch. It doesn't matter. What matters is, what are you bringing in to the home, and what is it that is affecting your children? Because as I said, we may not realize, but books really have an effect on the mind. There are actually many people that we know of in history that have had their hearts and minds changed based upon what they have heard, what they have seen, what they have been taught. Some moved in a very good direction, and some in a very dark direction. And we want to avoid that. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to fill your shelves with books that you don't feel nervous about to your children, that you have no lingering wonderings or guilt about. It's so freeing, and it's really, really a blessing for your children if you can do that. Take time and go through, and don't just pick it up because it's a series and it's popular. Really, really see if this is true, lovely, and pure. Now, of course, we live in a world where not all books will focus on the Father and the things of purity. Some things are of the world, but even those need to be screened so that we make sure whatever we are being given, whatever we're reading, is good and helpful and useful and doesn't dwell upon the things that are not. Number 4, it seeks to teach moral character through examples. There are multiple books out there that teach about character. It teaches about practical things that we can do to help one another. It talks about having a good attitude. And it just helps to guide us by showing us examples from other people that have done it. One good example are missionary stories where they go into some information about their life, the struggles they went through, and how they overcame. Those are great examples and rich books that would be great to have on your bookshelf, for example. And number 5, the books should teach a practical and useful skill, concept, or principle through a wholesome lens. Of course, we want our children to have practical skills and information that they can use to be leaders and to help guide others and themselves. But the books should be from an appropriate lens so that they can package that practical skill with wisdom. You want to have knowledge and wisdom, as the book of Proverbs tells us many, many times. So these are the 5 guidelines that I personally use when I'm selecting a book that I keep in the back of my mind so that I'm at least doing what I can to be on the right track to bring in those good things into the home and avoid those things that are not helpful. Next up, I'm going to show you some selections that I have personally screened and have read myself and find to be a help for my own bookshelf and to share with my own children.